I'd like to start with an apology. Normally at this particular meeting we would be laying before you approved, fully audited accounts, but a combination of sickness within the team and a new set of auditors after about 8 years has meant that we're slightly delayed. These accounts, which are just about there, will be laid before the Finance Committee on the 16th of June, so just over a week's time, and then before Bishop's Council on the 12th of July. But what you're seeing is essentially what will be laid before those two bodies. I'm pleased to say that the auditors have just about finished their work and nothing is coming out that looks untoward or any major more material changes will be needed. So they should be just about there. So in terms of the numbers, high-level P&L, you might say, goodness me, what's happened to income? Well, I think the point is that in 23, we saw the sale of the St James's School site, and that meant that there was a large amount of restricted income that came through that year. Actually, on a like-for-like basis, the income number is very, very similar. Similarly, when we move down to the bottom line, i.e. movement of funds, you strip out the gain on the St James's School site, and it's a very, very comparable set of numbers. So essentially a break-even position on the profit and loss account. Moving on to a bit more detail. Looking at the income for the year, you'll see how the 10 million is made up. So parish share, and again, thank you very much to all of the beneficiaries parishes for the contribution, 6.3 million, a little up on last year. So over 6 million, which is, as you can see, over 60% of the total income for the parish. But otherwise, on a like-for-like basis, very, very comparable sets of numbers, whether it be grants of Bishop's Council, charitable activities, rents or investment income, fairly similar numbers across the board. So a little over 10 million of income across the diocese. In terms of high-level expenditure, so moving on to the next one, and again, pretty similar picture to previous year. So the large item in there is parochial ministry, stipends, pensions, housing, maintenance and running costs, and you've already heard quite a bit about that in terms of how that is made up and what is coming from those various areas. So again, as you can see, that very, very much matches what we're seeing before. The only one large item not in there is the cost of the St James School site, which of course happened last year. So that has been stripped out. So I'd now like to hand over to Philip. And it's great to have Philip back, because Philip, for those that don't know, has been not very, very well at all. So it's fantastic to have him back with the team, leading the finance function within the diocese. So Philip's going to talk about the balance sheet.
Good afternoon, Synod. Since there was a delay, and I seem to have been the reason, at least I could say I have some influence on things. So my task today is to talk you through the big and beautiful balance sheet that you have. It is big, but I may demonstrate it's not entirely beautiful. As you can see there, most of our assets are properties. There is some investments and there are endowments. Net current assets, basically what we would normally call our working capital, is listed out quite nicely there. And in the past we did have pension deficits. They have gone mercifully. Next slide. Right, this is, for those of you who should be familiar with the principle of unrestricted funds, restricted funds and endowment funds. I'm sure every parish has those categories. Some will have a middling one, which is called designated, but we stick with those three. As you can see, our unrestricted funds, which is what we do most of our operations through, isn't a huge balance. I have it all in detail here, if anybody would like to go through the 69 pages. But what we have here mostly in the restricted funds, which isn't easily found through those accounts, I will say, sorry, the unrestricted funds, is that we have tangible assets of 2.2 million, investments of 1.8, and net current assets of 815, which, given the level of expenditure we have on a month-to-month basis, isn't huge, it's manageable, but it is at times difficult. It's particularly difficult at the beginning of the year, and I will say at the moment that we've had great parish fair collections to May, just over 2 million, thank you very much. But that doesn't quite cover the outgoings in the first part of the year. So it isn't a plea. I know this is a wellbeing conference, and going on about pleading for parish share isn't really the way to go. But it would help tremendously if we can get everybody paying on a regular basis. Paying at the end of the year doesn't particularly help me. Stipends, roughly £275,000 a month, and clergy pension £61,000 a month. We only collected 231 in January. So you can see quite simply, we do need to keep the cash flow going. If you can talk to your sister parishes in your deaneries to share any funds, move funds around, that would be very much appreciated. That is it.